Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something really quite unique. It's some material from a YouTube video. It's happening GFL Energy update over on the GFL Station channel. And our mission really is to unpack some pretty transformative claims in there. Things about, global shifts, cosmic energy, even your own personal well-being. Think of it as a journey into one specific viewpoint on things, right? It definitely offers some insights that might challenge how you usually think about current events.
Absolutely. And, exploring these kinds of distinct narratives is valuable in itself. Our aim here is just to pull out the key ideas, understand the story being told in these sources so you can grasp the core concepts, really, whatever your personal take on the content might be. It's about, being informed about different perspectives out there.
Okay, so let's dive in. The source makes this, really big claim right away. It says there's a long entrenched shadow alliance that supposedly held power over the world, and it's finally crumbling at its very core. That's the quote. They describe it as a hidden consortium of dark entities on Earth, and interestingly, off-world too. Entities who apparently orchestrated much of your planet's destiny from behind the scenes. It's quite a statement.
It really is. And the video then talks about why this is supposedly happening. It credits galactic light forces and also courageous allies within your world's Earth alliance. And it specifically mentions that some extraterrestrial commanders involved have been removed from play, which in this story leaves their, quote, earthly minions without direction. So they're losing that unassailable grip they supposedly had. It's just a major weakening.
Okay, so what evidence does the source actually offer for this crumbling? It says their elaborate web of control is disintegrating, that their influence has basically shrunk into isolated pockets. And here's something specific. It points to the situation in the Middle East with Iran and Israel as a key marker, calling it the beginning of the end. And it even anticipates swift escalations followed by even swifter resolutions there.
Right, and this collapse, according to the source, isn't just hidden. It connects to visible institutions and systems. It brings up the U.S. most recent election cycle, calls it a grand illumination catalyst, basically a kind of holographic drama designed, it says, to reveal deeper truths over the next 12 months or so. So beneath all the, the heated clashes we might see, the claim is that these hidden actors are losing their hold, reluctantly maybe, but losing it.
So with this backdrop, this narrative of a sort of hidden conflict, what's the advice for you, the listener? What are you supposed to do? It really stresses this point. Observe these events without emotional entanglement. That seems crucial. The video explains that things like the election spectacle and other media-driven dramas were actually designed to trigger fear and anger, to pull you back into that old matrix of division.
Yeah.
So the directive is quite clear. Remain neutral, stay centered in your heart's wisdom, and just witness. Don't feed it energy, basically.
Okay, so if these external structures are supposedly falling apart, what's happening on, say, an energetic level? Is there a counterforce?
Yes, the source talks about a positive side to this. It says, the growing discernment and awakening of the collective consciousness is undoing their influence. And it introduces this really interesting idea of a new energy framework, specifically a crystalline photonic grid, woven, it says, by the hearts of awakened souls. You could almost picture it like an energetic web around the planet, right? Powered by positive intention. That's a powerful image, yeah. And how does it say this grid gets formed? Through consistent high-frequency resonance, coming from, millions of star seeds, light workers, and enlightened individuals. It claims many people are already raising their personal vibration, getting into mid-fourth density, even touching fifth-dimensional consciousness. Now, for anyone unfamiliar, think of densities or dimensions like levels of awareness, maybe.
Yeah.
Higher ones being more unified. And these individuals, the source says, act as stabilizers and anchors for these even more intense fifth-dimensional energies coming in.
Exactly. And this planetary light grid, it grows stronger every day, apparently. It's the energetic foundation for New Earth. And the practical part for you is this. Every moment you choose love, compassion, and forgiveness over fear or anger, you reinforce this global matrix of light. It does acknowledge that, lower emotions happen, we're human, but it stresses that the coherence of many loving hearts together can quickly fix any disturbances in this grid.
And the message for what it calls stark kin is pretty direct. Continue to cultivate your inner brightness and stability until radiating light becomes just, effortless as breathing. And the promise attached is also quite something. As long as you sustain this unified field of love, no external force can break or dismantle it. It's like building an impenetrable shield, collectively.
That's a really pertinent idea of collective power. But does the source mention anything bigger, like cosmic influences maybe?
It does, yeah. It broadens the picture quite a bit then.
Yeah.
It says, your sun, working with the great central sun of the galaxy, is sending out these intensified waves of light. These waves are apparently encoded with solar codes to help with humanity's transformation. Things like solar flares and cosmic bursts of gamma photon energy. They're described as carrying intelligent information. Information that penetrates your cells, activates long dormant potentials in your DNA. Wow. And it's specific that this isn't just like a metaphor, right? This is not merely a metaphor or spiritual allegory. It is truly happening on a biological level. It suggests these high-frequency plasma particles are literally interacting with our DNA, unlocking dormant strands, changing our genetic blueprint towards something more crystalline and multidimensional. So what does that really imply about human potential, according to this view?
Well, it implies a pretty fundamental upgrade, doesn't it? An expansion of our capabilities, activating things that, according to the source, have just been lying dormant within us. Maybe less like a random mutation, more like activating latent software. A biological and energetic enhancement.
And this process, this upgrade, apparently causes symptoms. The source lists the things like extreme fatigue, dizziness or vertigo, pressure in your head, disrupted sleep patterns, even waves of intense emotion, from sadness to euphoric joy. And it reassures you that these are clear signals that these profound upgrades are actually happening, body and spirit.
Right. So, okay, if this is happening, how do you manage it? What's the practical advice? The source suggests you should lean sensibly into this solar energy. Sensibly being the key word, maybe. Things like spend a bit of time in the sun each day. Seems simple enough. Drink lots of pure water, preferably mineral-rich. Eat high-vibration foods, whatever that means to you specifically, I suppose. And importantly, rest more. Maybe more than you think you need. It's about honoring what your body's asking for, trusting that your inner architecture is being recast.
And amidst all this, cosmic energy and DNA upgrades, the source says something quite surprising. It claims one of the most radical and impactful services you can offer the world is unwavering self-care and self-love. That's cool. Which is interesting, right? So this nurturing yourself right now isn't selfish. It's actually a strategic necessity for the light. Unreal. That includes simple things like speaking kindly to your body, giving yourself credit, celebrating small wins.
Yeah, that focus on, let's call it energy maintenance, seems really central. It advises you to actively withdraw your focus from any information sources that loop fear, anger, or despair. So practically, that means limiting exposure to things like fear-mongering news or divisive social media, anything negative that just drains you, And it also points out that sleep is a powerful spiritual tool, a time for integrating these light codes.
The self-care advice continues too. Nourish your mind, your nerves, with uplifting input, calming music. It even mentions gentle theta wave frequencies. Also, moments of laughter and play, time in nature, and just taking deep conscious breaths. And it makes the point very clearly, none of this is indulgence or escapism. It's framed as energy maintenance and protection. Keep yourself balanced and you're essentially creating a protective field.
Okay, but what about the big world events? The source acknowledges things might get rough, right? It says financial systems may wobble, trusted institutions may collapse, even regional conflicts could flare up. But, and this is key, it doesn't frame these as just bad news. They're seen as a catalyst for transformation in the global consciousness, like pressure release events that are helping to reshape our shared world dream.
So your role when things seem chaotic, according to this source, it's to meet them with equanimity and compassion. It introduces this practice called storm alchemy, which sounds intriguing. It involves observing each situation calmly, but then actively sending love into it instead of anxiety or outrage. Visualizing it bathed in brilliant source light and affirming only unity and peace prevail. The mantra for it is simple: observe, breathe, transmute, release.
And on the individual level, your personal journey through this. The source says, no two paths look exactly the same, but they all weave together into a unified mosaic. It explains that old situations, old structures in your life, things from the old 3D reality, if they don't match your rising frequency, they'll just naturally fall away. Which leads to advice about others. Be patient, be compassionate with people on their own parallel paths. Hold space for them, it says, without judgment or control.
Now, there's a really fundamental concept here about duality, good versus evil. The source states there are not two equal opposing forces in this universe. There is only one power, the infinite light of the Creator. which is a big statement. It says darkness is not a true power, but just the absence or distortion of light. That really reframes the whole conflict narrative, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And if you follow that logic, when you feel that outrage or fear about the actions of the dark ones, as the source puts it, those feelings are just echoes of the old duality program, trying to hook you back into that struggle. So the advice is quite profound. Deny it the oxygen of your anger or fear, instead affirm the supremacy of the one light.
Which leads to this idea of impersonalization when you encounter negativity. Don't direct hatred toward individual perpetrators, it advises. Instead, view malice and deception as impersonal shadows, like energies rather than just people. And it even suggests invoking the violet flame of transmutation to dissolve them with spiritual light. What exactly is this violet flame?
The violet flame. It pops up in various esoteric traditions. It's often visualized as kind of spiritual fire, something that can transmute or neutralize negative energy. And the source here is careful to say using it isn't about attacking anyone. It's more about dissolving an illusion, neutralizing negativity with light, a kind of energetic alchemy.
And this idea of non-duality, it ties into our connection with each other too. The source talks about the one self. Says all of us are truly one self experiencing life through many avatars, many bodies, many perspectives. So it explains when you assist any fragment of life, any person, any creature, you're actually assisting the great oversoul that we all share. And understanding that, it claims, dissolves the artificial walls of separation, which encourages quiet giving, doing good deeds without expectations of praise or reward.
And surprisingly, maybe, it even links our human consciousness to, well, the planet itself, to nature. The source claims that a lot of the turbulence and weather patterns, and even in the planet's crust, has actually reflected the turmoil and conflict within the collective human psyche. Which brings us back to that storm alchemy practice, suggesting that by projecting harmony, projecting calm turquoise light, you can actually help soothe and stabilize the environment.
So it keeps coming back to personal responsibility, personal state, affecting the whole. It underlines again the importance of self-care as a form of shielding, emphasizing basic things: hydrate, ground, rest, explaining why. Water is a powerful conduit. Grounding connects you to Earth, to Gaia, and rest helps you process all these energetic upgrades. It's all framed as just essential maintenance of your divine vessel, your body, your energy field.
And then moves into the power of your mind, your inner vision, how that can actively shape the next chapter of Earth's story. Your imagination, it says, is a God-given creative tool for literally manifesting the new Earth. You're encouraged to hold these clear flash visions of a better world. Examples given include things like communities led by wise, transparent councils, or free energy devices, children being educated in harmony with universal truth, lush gardens and crystal cities, even peace with our galactic neighbors.
And these aren't just daydreams, according to this source. It highlights doing this visualization work, particularly at dawn and dusk hours, explaining that each positive mental hologram you generate is like a seed code released into the planetary field. End of quote. And that, fascinatingly, much of the new Earth design is being drawn from the collective dreams of humanity's awakened members. So your positive visions are literally contributing blueprints for the future in this view.
Which leads to another interesting, slightly counterintuitive point: quiet divine operation, or covert benevolence. The source actually warns against loudly broadcasting your good deeds. It says, if a light worker loudly announces their victories or generous deeds, the old matrix takes notice and tries to recalibrate or counteract. So the advice is basically perform your good deeds and spiritual work without fanfare. Keep it low-key.
And that applies to prayer and intention setting too. Yes, it advises private communion with the divine, saying that true prayer and intention setting achieve far more when done in the privacy of your inner sacred space. The idea is that a pure petition made in secret reaches the very heart of the Creator, and supposedly no dark force can intercept or distort it.
Okay, so looking ahead then, what about the aftermath? When this old regime supposedly collapses, the advice is to be grounded, humble, and compassionate. It acknowledges there will likely be cause for celebration, but suggests doing it wisely and quietly, resisting any urges towards vindictiveness or gloating.
And that raises a key point about your role when now, well, if the unawakened majority, as the source calls them, are suddenly faced with long-hidden truths. If people are stunned and disoriented, your role isn't to say, I told you so. It's to be an anchor of calm and a pillar of kindness, offering help, offering comfort without judgment, teaching more by your example, your resonance, than by preaching.
And the ultimate message, the final outcome presented here, it's one of certainty. The victory of the light is not just possible, but inevitable and very near at hand. That's quite definitive. It explains this by saying the light has already triumphed on the higher planes of existence, and that victory is now just steadily filtering down into your physical reality.
The only variable, it seems, according to the source, is the timing of this unfolding, which apparently depends on how gracefully humanity integrates each new wave of change and illumination. So it encourages you to hold this unshakable knowing that all is unfolding according to the highest plan, and to try and already feel the resonance of a civilization that is already free, to embody that future now.
So yeah, we've covered a lot there, a really unique perspective from this source material, covering huge global shifts, cosmic stuff, right down to your personal well-being. But the thread running through it all seems to be that your inner state, your actions, they really matter in this grand shift.
Exactly. And that idea that your personal well-being, your inner alignment, isn't just personal. In this view, it's like a fortress of light that helps uplift everyone. And by tuning into that positive future reality with love, with gratitude, you actually help pull it into being, into the physical world.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for you to ponder. If our collective consciousness really has this power to shape physical reality, what seemingly impossible dream, if you held it with total inner peace, with unwavering vision, what dream might just become the next undeniable fact of our shared experience? Something to think about, isn't it?